All right, I finally figured it out. I finally worked out the secret to getting better mobile footage using your smartphone, and today I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. Alright, so when we're trying to shoot cinematic footage on our smartphones, one of the biggest giveaways that you're actually shooting on a phone and not a more professional camera is going to be your shutter speed. So when it comes to shutter speeds, the general rule is you want your shutter speed to be double your frame rate. So if we're shooting in 24 frames a second, we want our shutter speed to be closest to double that 24, which on most devices is going to be 1/50th of a second. So if we're shooting at 24 frames a second, 1/50 and an ISO of around 100, and we're outdoors in a really bright setting and we're shooting on our smartphone, more often than not, our image is going to be overexposed and completely blown out. So the one solution to this is finding a way to darken our image without changing any of our settings. And that solution actually fits inside this little box right here. So this is a clip-on variable ND filter from Newer. So on a variable ND, when you turn the lens ring, you can see that it's kind of wide open here and then it gets darker as we turn it, which is in turn gonna darken our image when it's clipped onto our phone. This particular variable ND is made by Newer. It's a 37mm and it screws right into this little plastic clip here that comes with it. I picked this up for about 20 bucks on Amazon last week. And there's a few other variants as well, all of which I'll link down below for you guys to check out. But it's super cheap and super effective, and it's actually improved my mobile footage 10 times just by using this, especially when shooting outdoors or in really bright, well-lit settings where I need to bring down the exposure and reduce glare and all that sort of stuff. It just gives a nice, clean, professional looking image. So the way it works is you've got this plastic clip here and you've got some nice padded protection on each side so it's not scratching your phone. You just clip it onto your mobile device and just place this ring over whatever lens you're using. Obviously the newer phones have a few different lenses, so I just throw it over the main camera lens in the middle, and then you just screw in your variable ND onto that. And what this is going to allow us to do is when we put this over the lens of our smartphone, it's going to allow us to maintain our correct settings, so 24 frames a second, a shutter of 1/50, and it's going to allow us to then turn the dial, bring that exposure down until we have a perfectly exposed image while still maintaining our correct settings. This is going to be perfect for shooting in outdoor settings where we've got a lot of light and your image is overexposed. It's going to be great for shooting really bright scenes if you're doing a product video with a lot of lights and stuff like that and you want to try and shoot it on your smartphone. This is going to be perfect for us getting the correct exposure, shooting in the correct settings, and getting the best footage possible out of our smartphone. So because we have our correct settings and our correct shutter speed, we're not going to have that sharp, jagged type footage. We're going to have some really nice natural motion blur and a properly exposed image as well, which is going to sell the effect that you're not actually shooting on a smartphone, but a more professional DSLR or cinema camera. So if you have a look at some of this footage here, you can see what the image looks like if we're shooting at the correct settings with no variable ND. You can see that the image is very sharp and jagged and jumpy, and it just doesn't look very clean or professional. And finally, if you put on the variable ND filter and we use our correct settings, you can see how smooth and cinematic the movement is. We've got some nice natural motion blur happening, and it just looks a lot cleaner and a lot more professional. And another benefit to this is it's going to allow us to keep the same settings when moving from location to location or scene to scene. And if the light changes in the sky, we can either open up our variable ND or close it down in order to bring more light in or close more light out and maintain the same settings while shooting in different conditions. So aside from obviously having the correct exposure, you're gonna notice a massive difference when you start shooting moving shots. So if you're tracking someone, if you're running, if you're moving, if there's a lot of movement in your shot, you're gonna notice a huge difference from shooting with a variable ND filter to lower your exposure and increasing your shutter speed to lower your exposure. So an increased shutter speed is going to make your footage really sharp and jittery and kind of just unprofessional looking, and it's kind of just going to look like it's been shot on a smartphone. But if you're shooting with the correct shutter speed, so 1/50 at 24 frames a second, and you use a variable ND filter to expose your image, you're going to get really nice natural motion blur and your shot is gonna be a lot smoother and a lot more fluid, and you're gonna get much better results shooting with an ND filter as opposed to increasing your shutter speed, which is kind of like a bit of a rookie way of exposing your shot. So this thing is super convenient because it's tiny, it literally fits in your pocket, and the best thing about it is you don't need to have any specific phone to use this. This is universal and can clip onto any phone. A lot of the other mobile NDs that I've seen out there come with phone cases specific to certain phones and then ND filters that clip into those phone cases. This is literally on its own clip and you can chuck it on any phone you want, which means that it's super portable and it's gonna last you forever basically. No matter how many phones you go through or what you're using, you're gonna be able to use this on your device. So yeah, if you're someone that shoots purely on your smartphone and you're looking to get some good cinematic footage on your smartphone, but your footage isn't really looking up to scratch, it's probably because of your shutter speed, and I'd highly recommend investing in one of these little guys right here. I'll leave some links to some of my favorite ones down below, but like I said before, this is super small, super inexpensive, and it's completely changed my mobile footage in that short amount of time. So if you found this video useful, be sure to drop a like down below. Leave me a comment and let me know how you go and what your thoughts are on variable NDs and shooting on mobile. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and I will see you in the next video.